Welcome to today's show where we are going to be talking about blockchain and blockchain adoption. In today's show, we have Jonathan with us. He is a blockchain developer and a speaker, and he's very passionate about democratizing and spreading blockchain to many different users. Today, we are going to be discussing about the different kinds of blockchains that are out there, understanding what blockchain you should pick, maybe for what kind of project, and also how blockchain is getting adopted. Since there is so many different kinds of blockchain, it is also very important to understand who is adopting what kind of blockchain and why they are adopting different kinds of blockchain. But the conversation is also going to evolve about other use cases of different blockchains. So, first of all, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time. I think you are at a live conference for Bitcoin, but you'll tell us about this later. So maybe I'll leave the floor to you, and if you want, maybe just introduce yourself. And just as a heads up, I might be interrupting you with questions. So yeah, just as a heads up. Awesome, man. Cool. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about uh, the general blockchain landscape right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me. And I want to apologize for the noise. I'm actually at ETH Latam, which is also a DevCom here in Bogota right now. So I really so I apologize for the noise, but just this is um, I'm glad I'm talking to you, and I'm glad I'm talking to you right now because this is what's going on, right? Blockchain is actually being spread all over, and we're in South America right now, being able to talk about this technology in Spanish, right? In
Yeah.
Spanish with Spanish audiences, which maybe don't have as many access to all the English material and tutorial that's available. So my one of my jobs as a developer advocate is really to not just spread the word of blockchain, but make it easy for those that are wanting to build on the technology, make it easy for those to go ahead and onboard, make it easy for those to go ahead and start building.
That's
We
Sorry, I told you I was going to
No
jump
worries.
in. Probably you were going to talk about it, but I just wanted to jump in and ask because all of this sounds really great, and blockchain is everybody knows about it, but nobody really knows about it. What I mean is that yeah, we know what blockchain is kind of because we heard about it, but we don't really know how to work with it, what tools to use, how it's adopted. So you said some very interesting things on the things that is happening in Spanish, in the Spanish language in Bogota. So, what are some maybe practical things that are happening right now, maybe at the conference or that you are taking part in, to help blockchain adoption for devs around the world, and maybe more particularly in Spanish or in Latin America?
Absolutely, great question. One of the things we're doing is we're trying to build more tutorials, build more videos, build more tools that essentially Spanish speaking developers can use to start building. Like, the biggest problem is also the biggest solution. The biggest solution right now is that we have so many people wanting to get involved in Web3 and blockchain, right? It's an exciting topic, but that's also the problem. The problem is that there's not enough people that are building. There's not enough people that find it easy to start building on these platforms. You know, you're only as good as the people you have building on your product or using your product. Um, and believe it or not, these events are full of people that are interested, that love it. But how many are actually building? Right? That's my job. My job is to get more developers to start building and make it easier for them. Right? And specifically right now, make it easier for them in Spanish, in the Spanish speaking language. So that's why I'm here. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be something that's going to take a lot of work just because we don't have those tools available. So we have to create them. My job is to help create them. Um, it's a beautiful, it's a great time. It's a beautiful time, and it's also it's also going to take a lot of work, which is exciting.
I want to ask you, what kind of tools do you think are missing right now from the blockchain space uh, that should be built to help out developers? And also, you said another thing: the conference is full of people, but how many of them are actually building? Why are there so many people that are hyped up about Web 3.0 and they want to start, but they are not actually building anything, or there is really not that many products that are out there. Yes, there is great products, but not that I don't think we have seen any of the actual use cases that we're going to see in the future that are still to be built.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Um, what I think is missing is I think we're not doing a good enough job of onboarding. We're not doing a good enough job of creating awareness of how Web3 can actually have more everyday adoption.
Hmm.
We talk about transactions all the time. We talk about cheaper transactions. We talk about faster transactions. Um, we talk about how we want to have more security. That's wonderful. That's great. But what about adoption? Everyday adoption. We need to talk more about that. We need to make it
Hmm.
easier for people that not just come from like maybe the your traditional Web 2 development, but we also need to talk about the people that actually don't come from any development at all and can actually help contribute to this to these ecosystems. So again, you know,
So
it,
that's the whole concept of. Sorry, I think you're cutting. You just cut off a little bit. I think we're back. We're awesome. So that's the whole concept of citizen developer. I think. What am I trying? You put this idea into my mind, meaning that there is not enough people that are building. Why? Because everything is built in either each blockchain probably has a custom development language, so maybe a version of C or a version of whatever language that they built it in. Maybe it support other, but some don't really, and they work on their own native language. So it's hard to kind of learn and start learning from immediately. What we have in Web 2 is citizen developer, meaning we have low code platforms that can help us create a website, create a application without any knowledge of coding, Python, React, servers, or so forth. All we have to do is know how to drag and drop different elements, know what our application is going to be, and use the right no code, low code tool to build that. So what I'm understanding is that are we far away from that in the Web 3.0 space, or are there already some platforms that support this kind of adoption or this kind of usage, meaning that you can build Web 3.0 applications, NFTs, contracts, and stuff without actually having to go into Remix or write Solidity code?
that's a really good question. There are tools that exist. They're great compilers. For example, Algorand uses PyTeal, which is you can essentially write a contract in Python, and you essentially use the compiler to go ahead and transfer that contract. Um, those tools exist, and that's great. What we need to do is though we need to these events are full of developers that are wanting to learn. But what I would almost like to do is I'd like to have a workshop where all of us at the same time we're building. We're building simple storage smart contracts. We're
Hmm.
building simple transactions to show people that hey, you know what? Like start building now. Start building dApps, decentralized applications now. This is how you can connect to a wallet. Like um, kind of get those curious juices flowing. It's
Hmm.
I think we can do a better job of that. There are a
Okay.
lot of ecosystems that already implement some sort of adaption, but I think we need to do a better job because there's still a lot of people that aren't building, and we need that. You know.
Yeah, of course. Right now it's the pioneers, but as you said, it's mostly because the technology and the tools are not mature enough. There is no solutions or platforms that can help you speed up development by creating frameworks or libraries that you can just kind of plug and play into your code, like many different React libraries and so forth, that with just kind of minor configuration you can already use. I might suggest for everybody listening, I don't know if you have heard about it, Third Web. Third Web uh, is a great platform for starting to work on NFTs and Web 3.0 different concepts. Why? Because they have already different contracts that are pre-configured. But again, there uh, it's still not very known, so it's still hard for people to get there, and it's still not official, meaning that this is kind of something that they created. It can change any day. There is no standards behind it, so if you learn it, it might change or it might not be supported by tomorrow. But that's a risk that I think that everybody that is starts a pioneering or a new technology is running. Let's change gears. I want to ask you something different. I want to ask you, what is your favorite blockchain to build on? I know that you've been building on blockchain for quite some time. Probably you started with Ethereum, but what is right now? Maybe what would you say is your favorite blockchain? Not the best one, just your favorite.
That, that that's a really big question. I because I like to use different blockchains for different purposes. Um, for
Interesting.
every day for smart contracts dealing more with businesses, very everyday businesses. I like digital asset DAML, DAML, for inoperability, working with other
Uh,
chains.
why would you suggest that one for digital assets and NFTs?
Great question. Because I love that the smart contract language is very easy to use, and very simple. And they focus a lot on regular businesses. They focus a lot on making sure that you know not to have as much of the NFT distractions, or I think that's good for people that are just understanding what blockchain is. So I like them. On the other hand, when I'm talking about you know connecting those NFTs, when I'm talking about being able to use Ethereum for all my Solidity smart contracts, I love Polygon. I love Polygon because Polygon makes it easier, cheaper, and also provides excellent tools for learning. And I can connect to my Alchemy, to my chain stack, to many different ways to deploy my smart contracts. So um, I really enjoy a Polygon. Now, for inoperability, for sending chains, or for different uh, sending different transactions to different chains, I really like to use Algorand, because Algorand is really cheap, really safe, and it's a great technology. So there's a lot of different technologies I like to use.
Okay.
It's hard to just answer one.
Very good, very interesting answer. Meaning that basically, if I were to summarize it, it depends on the use case for which you are working on and on which you are building, which blockchain technology to use, basically.
Hmm.
If I were to simplify this question, and if I were to say maybe for somebody new that is new to Web 3.0 space, and they are like, I want to learn some Web 3.0, I want to get started. Which blockchain should I start? Should I start with the ones that have the most knowledge about and the most tutorials about, or should I start with the ones that are most provide the best functionalities, like the newer blockchains that obviously improved on the previous versions of the more consolidated ones?
I would start with Polygon. I would start with
Hmm.
Polygon because Polygon does
Okay.
an excellent job of being able to provide really eligible and really great documentation. It provides really good education, and it's very welcoming to a lot of other technologies. So I would definitely start with Polygon, and I would also encourage those that are new to kind of get familiar with a lot of different technologies. Um, if I may, one of the best, when I think of all the different protocols, I think of the world. You have the United States. It's where people like to go to do their thing. You have Europe where people like to go eat yummy food. You have Asia where people like to, eat even yummier food or whatever. That's kind of how it is with different protocols. We have different protocols that do different things. It's very wise to become familiar with a lot of them because you
Mhm.
get to know what's good and what isn't, and they're very diverse in different ways. So while I do encourage people to start with Polygon, I also encourage people to get familiar with a lot of different protocols. Get familiar with them, understand what makes them different, understand the good, maybe the bad from them, to be able to use them. It's very wise and very smart to understand different protocols, what they do and why, and don't just because one isn't as popular, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn it, and that doesn't mean that it can't help you in the best way. So if that makes sense,
That
I would
makes
definitely.
no, that is, I think that is golden advice, meaning don't put all of your eggs into one basket, but not just because
Mhm.
it's Polygon. I mean, it's one of the most stable and most scaled blockchains out, layer 2 blockchains, but it's
Yeah.
more about just your know-how in the field, and knowing,
Absolutely.
being aware that Algorand has this capability, Celio has this, and whatever other blockchains have these capabilities, so that when the use case should arise, you're not going to go to your standard default one that you're always using, like Polygon, but
Hmm.
you can use the best blockchain for the best use case. Would you?
Hmm.
What are some of the places where you would suggest people to kick things off with their Web 3.0 journey?
I would definitely recommend that you start with all the test nets. Start with
Okay.
being to deploy dApps, deploy smart contracts on your test net. Don't do not start putting putting crypto into a dApp or a smart contract if you haven't built it yet, or if you're learning. Definitely go ahead and definitely start to get familiar with them. But use the test nets, use them, because that's your practice. That's where you can actually go and start learning and start building, and not have to use real cryptocurrency. So I would recommend that you start there, and then I recommend that you get really familiar with reading documentation as well. But yeah, the future is really bright, and here at Hype Partners, we are trying to work with many different protocols in trying to our my focus as a developer advocate is to get developers familiar with different protocols, but also making it easier for them. My job is make it as easy as I can for you to start building and for you to get familiar with different protocols.
That is a very noble mission, and it's a very, like you said, it's a very hard battle that you have in front of you, because everything is to be created, meaning that there is nobody that did it, there is no guide, there is no tutorial, there is no how to do it. It's basically trying to figure it out from scratch and from zero, and building something completely new. And like you said it in the beginning, it's an extremely exciting time when you are building things from scratch and from zero. I wanted to ask you one more question, and that is regarding the whole blockchain space in Latin America. So I know that you've had a TEDx talk on the adoption of on Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in Mexico, and that you are quite familiar and knowledgeable about the adoption in Latin America. So maybe if you would just like to share any data, know-how, examples, use cases, or anything regarding the market in Latin America. Maybe how is it growing? Is anything kind of a showstopper? Are other countries in Latin America gonna follow up in Costa Rica's step? Is it Costa Rica that has Bitcoin, or
Yeah, there's
Salvador? Yeah. So yeah, maybe if you can
El
just
Salvador.
elaborate a little bit more on the, yeah, El Salvador. So if you can just maybe give us a little bit more info on the market for Web3, not just crypto, in Latin America.
You know, it's very interesting because I think here in Latin America, there's some you especially in DeFi, there's some uses that are very real. You know, I live in the United States. I don't have to deal with as much of the problems that a lot of people deal with South America, and specifically how DeFi can actually help solve these very real problems and these problems that exist today, right now, right? Um, it's an exciting time. There's a lot of builders. There's a lot of people that are very interested, and a lot of people that are building. I think a problem is that we need more materials in Spanish. We need more. We need more videos. We need more tutorials. We need more instruction in Spanish. And I think that it's going to be very exciting to be able to be a part of that and make that easier, because there's real use cases for DeFi that are very real and can be used today, can solve problems today that maybe don't exist in parts of Europe or parts of the US where I live. So it's a very interesting time. It's going to be exciting because we'll be able to kind of see see how certain things are implemented and see how certain things are done in real lifetime here. And I think it's going to be um, I think it's going to be hard. Also, it's going to be very difficult because we also deal with a lot of different elements that we don't deal with in the United States, for example. But the future is bright, but it is going to take a lot of work. Work is good
Well,
though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, you said again a couple of very important things, such as that the use cases that exist in Latin America for blockchain and crypto definitely do not exist in the United States, or are different, or are different. Why? Because of many different economic aspects, social aspects, political aspects, and all of that,
Hmm.
and all of those things. Uh, I I know that we are taking a lot of your time, and I want you to go back to the conference. I think things are ramping up, but if I can just ask you a few more questions regarding Latin America, how is Latin
Yeah,
America positioned with cryptocurrency? Is it legal? Is it illegal? What countries are pushing forward? What countries are pushing it, and what countries are kind of making it a taboo?
that it's not very clear yet, to be honest. There's a lot of countries that are very welcoming to it in like El Salvador, for example, but they've kind of had some issues of their own too. So I think it's more I think it's more of being able to use being able to use DeFi to send transactions to and from each other right now, but also it's going to be building tools and making sure that we understand how the more and more we start building, the more we'll be able to kind of use, for example, smart contracts for other things. Like for example, in Argentina has very real use cases right now for Web3, and it's a really exciting time there. There's first off, there's a huge community that's already building, but also, the some of the smart contracts or some of the functions that are being used for those smart contracts are very real right there. So, and I mean, I'm here in Colombia right now, to where, again, some of the problems of DeFi and some of the abuse of banks can actually be fixed and be helped using DeFi. But again, you know, we it's going to be making sure that we educate people, because these problems are happening right now. So it is exciting, and I'm really excited about, for example, Argentina, and how Argentina can actually start solving some of these issues right now.
Is that
And
just jump in there? Is there a big community in Argentina and a big opportunity because there is a inflation of 75% and because there is economic
yeah,
turmoil, or is it so basically the demand is driven by the necessity? Basically, why we are really in kind of a pile of poo. Let's put it like that. What is the way that we can get out of it? Well, Web 3.0 could be a great way. Is that the mentality that kind of motivates
that's
and drives people to kind of start building and accelerate things?
That's one of them. That's a really big thing. Yeah. Um, the what you mentioned about the inflation. Yeah, absolutely real. Um, and the community is there. So
Mm.
it's very exciting to go and to actually start working with them. And I mean, even if I'm in the United States, I can still contribute and I can still, start building on some of the platforms there, being able that we making sure that we build those educational tools there too. So it's exciting because, you know when we're learning Web3, we're learning kind of how the traditional bank systems and some of the traditional way that we did things did not work. But
Yeah.
being here in Latin America, it's exciting because there's more that I can do here than maybe in the United States.
Yeah, because there's more to build.
There's more
There's
to
everything is kind of to build, and just like you said it, also uh, it has to be in Spanish, meaning that I mean it's great if it's in English. Many people do speak it, but if it's in your native language, you obviously you can understand it better. You can learn it faster. It's more accessible, and it's yeah. In the end, it speeds up the whole process. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. I want to let you get back to the conference, but before, if there's anything else that you would like to share, any other ideas or thoughts or something that we didn't cover, but you feel that is important that people should listen to, please let us know maybe right now if there is anything else that you would like to share.
Yeah, it's the future's bright, and this is an exciting time for anybody to want to get involved. So I'm very active, very active on Twitter, Discord, but I'm also very active on LinkedIn, because I love to talk to fellow developers, but I especially even more like to talk to the people that don't understand Web3, maybe the people that don't use it.
Mm.
Those are my favorite people to talk to. So again, I'm more than welcome to connect with anybody on LinkedIn, Twitter, to be able to talk to them and just understand what their needs are, understand what their problems are, and how Web3 can help.
Awesome, awesome, cool. For anybody listening, I will be leaving Jonathan's link to LinkedIn and other links that he will share down in the description of the video. Also, hopefully, we're not going to get copyrighted for that beautiful song that was playing in the background. That also just started as you started kind of your final remarks, which was kind of
I
perfect
apologize for the
timing.
noise. I
No,
apologize.
that was actually that was beautiful. Jonathan, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Feel free to jump on a call with me anytime you want to discuss anything. And from everybody that is listening, I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing what you know with the Web 3.0 community, and also for the great work that you are doing about helping people to get into Web 3.0, helping them learn how to start developing, and all of the other work that you're doing. Cool, man. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, everybody.